Late at night, Emily secretly made a call in the hallway, clutching a limited edition bag.
I got home safely.
Emily, that bag isn't cheap. Seems like you're doing well.
Unlike John, who just stays home cooking for me like a nobody every day.
I hid behind the door, listening clearly, my already aching stomach twisting even more. The Jack she mentioned was her first love. 2 months ago, I heard he had returned to the country, and I started to worry. Now, my fears had come true.
The three of us went to the same school. When Emily was still with Jack, I had already fallen for her. Back then, she was the student council president, the valedictorian, an undeniable goddess, radiating brilliance from head to toe.
I thought my feelings would end as an unrequited crush. But when Jack left her to study abroad after graduation, she was heartbroken, crying every day, and became a shadow of her former self. I felt deeply for her and mustered the courage to approach her.
During those 2 years, whenever she worked late or drank too much, no matter how late it was, I would drive to pick her up. On weekends, I would buy groceries and cook her favorite dishes. Under my care, she gradually recovered, though there was still a hint of sadness in her eyes.
John, you're so good to me, I feel like I can't live without you.
My heart raced. After she finished eating, I nervously touched her hand and said, "Emily, forget about Jack. Let me help you move forward and leave the past behind."
I looked at her with anticipation, and finally, she nodded. She was busy with work, and I didn't want her to worry about anything at home. I often said, "Emily, focus on your career. I'll be your strong support at home."
With this in mind, I switched careers to become a chef, hoping she would enjoy every meal and eventually accept me wholeheartedly. But in her eyes, I was just a nobody.
To make matters worse, after 3 years of hard work, I was diagnosed with a severe illness. On our wedding anniversary, she was tightly embracing her first love. I looked down at the anonymous photo someone sent me, showing Emily in Jack's arms.
Today was supposed to be our 3rd wedding anniversary. I had prepared a feast and planned to surprise her with a gift. But she never came home. As I watched the food grow cold, I received the photo. The sender had drawn a laughing face on the back, a blatant provocation.
Her call ended just before she opened the door. Seeing I was still awake, she seemed a bit guilty.
What's going on? You're usually asleep by now.
She changed her shoes and entered, noticing the table full of food. She seemed to remember something but said nothing. I sighed and handed her the photo, hoping she would explain. But Emily's face turned pale, and she angrily tore the photo to pieces.
John, are you stalking me?
I didn't answer, just asked, "What's with the photo?"
Her eyes flickered, but her tone was sharp. We just met to chat. Why are you making a big deal out of it?
My emotions surged, making it hard to breathe. After coughing for a while, I continued, chatting so intimately.
What can I do if classmates tease us?
She covered her mouth and nose, stepping away from me.
Don't you know to take medicine if you're sick? What if you infect me? You don't earn money, and if I can't work, we'll both be in trouble.
I was skeptical. Seeing I wasn't convinced, Emily glared at me.
Why can't you let it go? Is it fun to keep bringing up the class reunion? Anniversaries aren't just once. We can celebrate later. You're just bored.
She left me, storming upstairs. Moments later, I heard a door slam. I stood in the darkness, tears streaming down my face. She didn't know I had no future left. My emotions surged, making it hard to breathe. After coughing for a while, I continued.
chatting so intimately.
What can I do if classmates tease us?
She covered her mouth and nose, stepping away from me.
Don't you know to take medicine if you're sick? What if you infect me? You don't earn money, and if I can't work, we'll both be in trouble.
I was skeptical. Seeing I wasn't convinced, Grace glared at me.
Why can't you let it go? Is it fun to keep bringing up the class reunion? Anniversaries aren't just once. We can celebrate later. You're just bored.
She left me, storming upstairs. Moments later, I heard a door slam. I stood in the darkness, tears streaming down my face. She didn't know I had no future left. My emotions surged, making it hard to breathe. After coughing for a while, I continued.
Chatting so intimately.
What can I do if classmates tease us?
She covered her mouth and nose, stepping away from John.
Don't you know to take medicine if you're sick? What if you infect me? You don't earn money, and if I can't work, we'll both be in trouble.
John was skeptical. Seeing he wasn't convinced, Grace glared at him.
Why can't you let it go? Is it fun to keep bringing up the class reunion? Anniversaries aren't just once. We can celebrate later. You're just bored.
She left him, storming upstairs. Moments later, a door slammed. John stood in the darkness, tears streaming down his face. She didn't know he had no future left. My emotions surged, making it hard to breathe. After coughing for a while, I continued.
Chatting so intimately.
What can I do if classmates tease us?
She covered her mouth and nose, stepping away from me.
Don't you know to take medicine if you're unwell? What if you infect me? You don't earn money, and if I can't work, we'll both be in trouble.
I was skeptical. Seeing I wasn't convinced, Grace glared at me.
Why can't you let it go? Is it fun to keep bringing up the class reunion? Anniversaries aren't just once. We can celebrate later. You're just bored.
She left me, storming upstairs. Moments later, I heard a door slam. I stood in the darkness, tears streaming down my face. She didn't know I had no future left. Emily took my phone from the hospital and kept looking through our chat history.
How could someone so healthy suddenly become so ill?
She kept repeating until she stumbled upon an unread message. The data on the phone had been deleted, but after recovery, only one blurry picture remained, vaguely showing two figures. Emily was silent for a while before swiping away the screen. The next day, Jack came to see her.
There's a new project by the river. Want to check it out and relax a bit?
Sure.
Sensing her agreement, Jack pushed further.
How about coming over to my place tonight to get familiar with the materials?
Anna wrapped her arms around Jack's neck and repeated.
Sure.
My heart felt like it had plunged into an icy abyss. I wasn't ready to see her and Jack so close. Yet, something felt off. Watching Anna cling to Jack like a parasitic plant, my heart ached as if 1,000 ants were crawling over it. When Jack went to shower, Anna secretly took his phone and examined it carefully. When Jack angrily confronted her about what she was doing, Anna's face turned frighteningly dark.
Jack, you've been sending messages and videos to hurt John all along. You insisted on seeing the cherry blossoms and used palm reading as an excuse to touch my fingers just to provoke him?
What, you want to settle scores with me? You were willing, weren't you? How dare you act like a victim now?
Anna's face turned pale with anger, and Jack lit a cigarette.
John was just a fool. What's wrong with telling him the truth? What, you want to play the saint after being a hypocrite?
Anna remained silent, and Jack seemed a bit panicked.
What are you holding onto these for? Are you planning to expose them to get justice for your husband?
Anna suddenly smiled, took the cigarette from his hand, and took a puff.
There's a position for a designer being transferred to the head office soon. Write me a recommendation letter, and I'll pretend I didn't see anything.
My soul shuddered, feeling a deep chill. Jack was caught off guard.
Will you write it or not? If you don't, I'll send the photos to the company. I'm just a small fry, losing my job is no big deal. But if you're demoted, it'll be hard to make a comeback. Deliberately sabotaging a female subordinate's family can be a big deal. After all, John's life is at stake. Who knows what kind of butterfly effect a report might have?
Anna intended to use my demise to pave her way to success. Seeing her ruthless demeanor, I realized the sword hanging over my head had finally fallen. All my hopes turned into sharp tools of self-mockery, cutting deep. Anna, after all these years of treating me this way, I still had a sliver of hope. Jack finally regained his composure, understanding Anna's tactics. His eyes no longer showed fear.
Fine, I'll write it for you.
He sat down at Anna's feet.
But since I've already showered, isn't there a bonus?
Then marry me.
Of course.
Jack agreed readily, but having been played today, he was not polite.
Only a fool wouldn't take advantage.
Listening to Anna's screams and the obscene sounds from outside the room, a wave of physical revulsion made me retch. My heart was completely numb, filled only with cold hatred, unable to muster any love. My emotions surged, making it hard to breathe. After coughing for a while, I continued.
Chatting so intimately?
What can I do if classmates tease us?
She covered her mouth and nose, stepping away from me.
Don't you know to take medicine if you're sick? What if you infect me? You don't earn money, and if I can't work, we'll both be in trouble.
I was skeptical. Seeing I wasn't convinced, Grace glared at me.
Why can't you let it go? Is it fun to keep bringing up the class reunion? Anniversaries aren't just once. We can celebrate later. You're just bored.
She left me, storming upstairs. Moments later, I heard a door slam. I stood in the darkness, tears streaming down my face. She didn't know I had no future left. As Anna closed the door, it was pushed open from the outside. She saw Jack's face, looking very displeased, and tried to push him out.
No visitors today.
What? Use me and then want to leave? I helped you get a spot in the company. I care about you so much. Don't you think you owe me something?
What do you want?
Seeing her uncooperative, Jack dropped the pretense.
Stop pretending. I heard everything. John's assets will be split between us, and we'll get married.
Anna found it laughable.
Who do you think you are? John is my husband.
Jack looked at her coldly and then let out a sinister laugh.
Yes, but I'm your lover. I have evidence of us together. Want to hear how you sound?
Anna slapped Jack hard.
Get out.
Jack, holding his face, glared at her with hatred. Then, in a fit of rage, he grabbed her hair and threw her to the ground. He kicked and hit her, calling her names.
You think holding on to some trivial evidence makes you invincible? You dared to order me around? Think I would really be threatened by you?
Bruised and battered, Anna groped for the paper cutter on the desk, retreated to a corner, and held the blade to her neck. Her eyes were bloodshot as she threatened.
I'll give you 70%, and I'll take 30. Otherwise, I'll end it here, and you won't get a penny.
Jack thought for a moment and then smiled.
Fine, you win.
He left with a satisfied grin, humming a tune. Anna, curled up on the cold floor, looked up at the portrait above the altar. She spoke with genuine emotion.
John, don't worry. Once I inherit the assets, I'll make him pay.
Money, power, fame, so many things stood in my way. Did you think I was still that naive person who would fight for you at a word? I don't believe a single word you say. Thinking of the inheritance, Anna laughed foolishly.
John, thank goodness for you.
Just then, there was a commotion outside. A few seconds later, the lawyer entered, followed by several officers and a restrained Jack. I noticed the lawyer holding my phone. He had taken it without Anna noticing, and even I, a bystander, hadn't realized.
Ms. Anna, Mr. John was harassed by anonymous messages before his passing. According to police investigations, the sender was your direct superior, Jack. We now have reasonable suspicion that his death is related to you and Mr. Jack. Please cooperate with the investigation.
The officers confiscated Jack and Anna's phones. It didn't take long to find the incriminating video of Anna in Jack's cloud storage. At the police station, Anna insisted on her innocence during the interrogation.
Officer, what are you talking about? How could I possibly harm my husband?
Before she could finish, she suddenly heard a familiar, intimate sound. It was unmistakably her. The lawyer, holding the phone, walked in expressionlessly.
Ms. Anna did not harm Mr. John, but your infidelity is undeniable.
Using the police to obtain the video from Jack was the real plan. The lawyer had outsmarted her. Anna's face turned ashen, but it was too late. Narrator, tone, sad. My emotions surged, making it hard to breathe. After coughing for a while, I continued.
Chatting so intimately?
Grace, tone, angry. What can I do if classmates tease us?
Narrator, tone, serious. She covered her mouth and nose, stepping away from me.
Grace, tone, unfriendly. Don't you know to take medicine if you're unwell? What if you make me sick? You don't earn money, and if I can't work, we'll both be in trouble.
Narrator, tone, skeptical. I was skeptical. Seeing I wasn't convinced, Grace glared at me.
Grace, tone, shouting. Why can't you let it go? Is it fun to keep bringing up the class reunion? Anniversaries aren't just once. We can celebrate later. You're just bored.
Narrator, tone, sad. She left me, storming upstairs. Moments later, I heard a door slam. I stood in the darkness, tears streaming down my face. She didn't know I had no future left. The two of them entered the apartment, and as soon as they were inside, Jack loosened his tie. His lips eagerly pressed against Anna's pale, delicate neck.
So fragrant, this is more like it. I've never tasted the flavor of a widow before.
It was just a joke from someone in power, but the humiliation in his words made Anna's body tremble slightly. The next moment, she responded even more passionately. They were together for a full hour. Afterward, Grace lay in his arms, her body restless.
You little minx, still want more?
Anna lowered her head, pretending to be shy. Jack, extremely pleased, gave her a push. He began to speak incoherently, lost in his desires, when suddenly, Anna drew a knife. With a swift motion, Anna's mocking laughter filled the room.
So fond of playing with women, let's see how you manage without your manhood.
The object fell to the ground, and Jack curled up in pain, unable to even cry out.
No, save me.
Anna glanced at him, tears of laughter streaming down her face.
Jack, did you really think I would save you?
At that moment, Lucy suddenly burst in, screaming at the sight. Anna was taken to the police station, and Jack was rushed to the hospital. In the end, Anna was sentenced to 5 years in prison for intentional harm. Jack became the laughingstock of the entire industry, forever labeled as emasculated. He hated Anna with a passion and couldn't let her go easily. He used all his means to forge a mental health diagnosis, sending Anna to a psychiatric hospital. At first, Anna shouted every day that she wasn't ill, only to be kicked to the ground by the orderlies. Because she didn't cooperate, she endured electric shocks, restraints, and beatings twice a day. Initially, she looked at my photo every day, reminiscing about our past, reminding herself she was normal. But due to excessive sedative injections, her mind eventually broke. She finally became a true mental patient, forever trapped in this place filled with iron bars and fences. During the day, she imagined herself as a wealthy lady, boasting to other patients.
My husband is a millionaire. Despite his wealth, he cooks for me every day and picks me up from work. He loves me more than anything.
Her fellow patients, seeing her twisted smile, sincerely asked,
Then why are you here?
You loveless, worthless people wouldn't understand. My husband will come for me soon.
But in the dead of night, she would break down and cry. She treated my photo as a treasure, pressing it to her heart with reverence.
John, it's just us now. We'll live well from now on.
After a while, she would bang her head against the wall, desperately apologizing. I watched her madness in the darkness. Anna, spend the rest of your life in regret. The lawyer came to burn paper offerings for me.
John, your estate has been donated entirely to cancer treatment institutions, as per your wishes.
I nodded, feeling a deep sense of relief. A wisp of smoke circled the lawyer, who sensed it and smiled.
John, rest in peace.
I felt my body growing lighter and lighter, slowly drifting towards the sky. In just one short year, everything had changed. Anna, you no longer deserve the place I once made for you. Let this life end here, and may we never meet these despicable people again in the next.